She was told she'd never amount to anything. 10 years later, she changed her city. There's a moment most people never talk about. It's not the moment you succeed. It's the moment, right before you quit, when absolutely nothing is working, nobody is watching, and every logical voice in your head says, stop. What you do in that moment is the only thing that actually matters. Her name was Nadia. She grew up in one of those neighborhoods that news cameras only visit when something goes wrong. No parks, no libraries, no after-school programs. Just vacant lots and a corner store that sold lottery tickets to people who had already run out of other options. She was 24 when she first noticed it, really noticed it. She had been volunteering at the community center on weekends. And one afternoon, a 9-year-old named Marcus sat down next to her and said, without any drama, without any self-pity, "Miss Nadia, I don't think anything gets better around here." She didn't have an answer, because honestly, neither did she. She went home that night and typed into Google, "How do I start a community program with no money?" 47 tabs later, she closed her laptop. She had learned nothing useful, but something had shifted, something quiet and stubborn and dangerous. Here's what nobody tells you about wanting to change something. The hardest part isn't the work. The hardest part is that the need is so enormous that doing anything small feels pointless. Nadia didn't launch a nonprofit. She didn't find investors. She didn't write a business plan. She did one thing. She cleaned the back room of that community center herself. 3 Saturdays in a row. Alone. No one asked her to. No one thanked her. The center director barely noticed. But Marcus noticed. He showed up on the 4th Saturday with a mop. He didn't say anything. He just started mopping. Nadia told me later, "I almost cried. Not because he helped, but because I realized the problem wasn't that nobody cared. The problem was that nobody had started." She had been waiting for a leader to appear. She hadn't realized she was the one she was waiting for. Psychologists call this the bystander effect, when everyone assumes someone else will act. But there's a lesser-known flip side to that research. When one person acts with visible commitment, even imperfectly, even on something small, it breaks the paralysis in everyone watching. Nadia didn't know the research. She just kept showing up. By month 2, they had a small after-school tutoring circle. 6 kids, folding tables, dollar store markers, then 8 kids, then 12. Then a city inspector showed up and told her the room wasn't properly zoned for youth programming. Then the center director got replaced by someone who wanted to use the space for storage. Then 2 of her volunteers quit, same week. Nadia sat in that empty back room, the one she had cleaned herself 3 Saturdays in a row, and thought, maybe they were right. Maybe this neighborhood isn't ready. That night her older sister called to check in. Nadia told her everything. Her sister said something that didn't sound like advice at first. "Nadia, you are not responsible for the whole neighborhood. You're only responsible for what's directly in front of you." What's directly in front of you right now? Nadia thought about it. Marcus, and 11 other kids who had shown up this week. That was what was directly in front of her. She found a different room. A church basement 3 blocks away. She learned what the zoning requirement actually needed, and got it sorted in 2 weeks through a local nonprofit she had never heard of. She replaced her 2 volunteers with 5 new ones, including a retired school principal who had seen the flyer Nadia had taped to a laundromat window. Here's the thing about consistency that nobody prepares you for. Results don't arrive linearly. You work for months and see nothing. And then, almost overnight, you see everything at once. 12 months after Nadia cleaned that first back room, she had a registered youth organization, a partnership with 2 local schools, a Saturday science program, a homework club, a summer reading challenge. And Marcus, the 9-year-old who had said nothing gets better around here, had just won his school's citywide math competition. He stood up in front of his school and said, "I just want to thank the people who showed up when nobody told them to." He was talking about Nadia. But in that moment, every single person in that room understood exactly what he meant and who he might be thinking about in their own life. I want to be honest with you about something. This isn't really a story about community development. It's about the specific kind of courage it takes to act when the outcome is not guaranteed. We've been told, by movies, by social media, by every success story we've ever heard, that people who change things are different from us. Special, chosen, lucky. That is a comfortable lie. The research on behavioral change keeps arriving at the same uncomfortable truth. Change doesn't start with the right moment. It starts with an imperfect action taken before the moment feels right. Marcus is now 17. He's applying to engineering programs. The community center, a different one, a better one, now serves over 400 kids every year. 3 other neighborhoods in the same city have replicated Nadia's model. None of that was in the plan, because there was no plan. There was just a woman with a mop and a choice to show up one more Saturday. You are watching this right now for a reason. Maybe you have an idea you've been sitting on for months. Maybe there's a problem in your community, your workplace, your family, that you've noticed, that bothers you, that you've been waiting for someone else to fix. Maybe you've already tried once, and it didn't go the way you hoped, and part of you decided that was the universe telling you something. Here's what I want to offer instead. That failure wasn't a verdict. It was data. You don't need momentum to start. You need to start to get momentum. Those are not the same sentence. One waits for permission. The other creates it. Nadia doesn't run a non-profit empire. She still works a day job. She still drives a 2011 Honda Civic with one window that doesn't fully close. But every Thursday evening, she sits in a church basement in a neighborhood that news cameras still mostly visit when something goes wrong. And she helps kids figure out what they're capable of. Not because she had it figured out, because she showed up before she did. The one decision that separates people who change things from people who only think about it? They stopped waiting to feel ready. If this story made you think of someone in your life who has been quietly doing the work, send it to them today. And if that person is you, if you're the one who has been quietly showing up and wondering whether it matters more than you know. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. We'll see you there.